After carving, Mr. Orville pulled out the second person who signed up and asked Charlie, "Mr. Wade, what about this person?" Charlie thought about it and said with a smile, "This time it's 5 words, so let's engrave Wu Chi likes to eat shit." Orville nodded, and immediately carved his own human calligraphy on the second person's forehead. At this time, Jones Zijo found that the number of words really increased as he went on, so he hurriedly shouted, "Great Mr. Orville! I'm the third, I'm the third. Don't grab anyone." Orville gave a sneer and asked, "Where is your arrogant energy? Why is it like this now? What's the difference between it and a dog which eats food?" Jones Zijo hurriedly pleaded, "Great Mr. Orville, you regard me as a dog, so please engrave it for me first." Charlie frowned, went up and kicked Jones Zijo directly, and said coldly, "You guy are really unscrupulous. The 4 of them are little brothers who were born to die with you. You want to cheat them in the face of disaster?" Jones Zijo was kicked far away, crying and said, "Mr. Wade, I am a timid and fearful lord, so please be kind and let the Master Orville engrave it for me first." Charlie said coldly, "Stop the FC King nonsense with me, you are the last. Beep more with me, and just engrave a list of teachers on your face." Mr. Orville smiled and said, "Mr. Wade, the teachers' list is very long. I am afraid that on the face it will not be carved." As he said, Mr. Orville recited and counted with his fingers, and said, "The first emperor has not started his own business but the middle way has collapsed. Today is 3 points, Zijo is exhausted. Oh, this is almost full. The face is full." Charlie waved his hand indifferently, and said, "There is no engraving on his face and a neck, no neck is engraved, and his body. If it's a big deal, he will engrave all the places where love can be engraved on his body and let him see more often. Seeing the teacher's table and memorizing the teacher's table more often, it can be regarded as learning his loyalty and righteousness." Jones Zijo was frightened immediately, and hurriedly cried and pleaded, "Mr. Wade! Mr. Wade, I was wrong. I dare not beep anymore. You are right. I am the last one. I won't say a word. Honestly waiting." Jones Zijo shut up, and Mr. Orville pulled the third person who had volunteered before him, and asked Charlie, "Mr. Wade, what to engrave on his head?" Charlie replied, "Roger is gay." Mr. Orville nodded and waved his big hand. 6 bloody big characters were engraved on the man's forehead in Chinese. Immediately afterwards, it was the 4th. Mr. Orville said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, it's 7 words this time." "Yeah." Charlie thought for a while and said, "Then Regnar is incompetent." Mr. Orville couldn't help but laughed and said, "Mr. Wade, why is the bird incompetent? Shouldn't it be S3X? Charlie waved his hand. "Sex is a sensitive word. You can't use it indiscriminately. If you let the girls see it, they will blush." Immediately afterwards, Mr. Orville finished the calligraphy of the 4th person's body. The last one left is Jones Zijo. Jones Zijo looked at the blood on his 4 little brothers' heads and faces, and was frightened. He is a very arrogant person. He has always been strong and unmatched, which gave him the best illusion in the world. The more he has this illusion, the more serious the burden of idols. However, he really didn't dare to say a word of bullshit at this time. Otherwise, he was really afraid that Charlie would let Orville engrave on him as a teacher. Not to mention carving out the teacher's table, even if it is a song, he can't stand it. So he could only silently tremble and cry, waiting for the moment when his fame is destroyed. At this moment, Jones Zijo had only one wish in his heart. That is, Charlie must not let Mr. Orville engrave 2 vulgar sentences for himself. However, he did not understand Charlie. The more this time, the more Charlie likes to be vulgar. Holding a bloody knife, Mr. Orville pointed to Jones Zijo, who was pale, and asked, "Mr. Wade?" Charlie thought for a while and said, "Isn't these 8 characters?" Be casual, close to the people, and grounded at that moment. After speaking, Charlie said again, "In this way, I'll poop to Roger for him to eat." Jones Zijo felt ashamed when he heard these words. Mr. Orville hurriedly asked, "Mr. Wade, is it wrong? Wu Chi, not Roger, likes to eat shit." Charlie waved his hand casually and said, "Oh, it's the same. Anyway, he wants to show Regnar and Roger when he goes back. It's better to carve Roger." "Come." Mr. Orville nodded immediately and said, "Then I will engrave him, a bit bigger and a bit deeper." Jones Zijo looked at the bloody tip of the knife and cried, "Great Mr. Orville, great Mr. Orville. I beg you to do one thing?" Mr. Orville said impatiently, "Why are you so much nonsense?" Jones Zijo cried and said, "Great Mr. Orville, I just want you to change the knife. This knife has been carved from Lu Guang, and it has been carved by 5 people. It is not disinfected. It is easy to get sick. In case anyone has one. AIDS or something, isn't that going to lead to a cross-infection?" When Jones Zijo said this, the other 4 people trembled with fright. One of them blurted out and asked, "Are you 3 free of AIDS?" "No." The other 3 shook their heads.